There are at least 9 African countries that have placed limitations or complete bans on the use of plastic bags. Worldwide, there are about 35. In 2007, Kenya introduced a ban on plastics below 30 microns, what most people know as plastic carrier bags. However, this ban has taken 10 years to be put into effect, and now the Ministry of Environment says it will not back down on the implementation of the ban.
We've just been given two brackets. A is the carrier bag and B is a flat bag. There's no specification. Right now we assume it's entirely plastic.
This has been the problem. Littering has been almost impossible to contain, and with that comes severe environmental degradation, considering that these plastics are non-biodegradable. But then there's the other side of the argument. In Kenya, the industry employs about 20,000 people, and there is no denying the convenience plastic bags offer when it comes to packaging. Bipin Vora, a paper bag manufacturer, says he has the solution for the packaging, and the ban is more than welcome. He's one of 5 paper bag manufacturers in Kenya.
For more reasons than one, it's the best thing that's happened to the country and us. Like I said, we've been operating in Kenya and in this field for the last 20 years. And in the 20 years, my factory has never operated above 30% of its capacity.
Paper bag production only accounts for about 10% of the industry. Some of Vora's machines still lay idle, and he says even a week after the announcement that the ban will be enforced, he has not had any calls for paper bag orders. After 10 years of trying to implement the ban, Vora is cautious, given that there has not been any talk of what needs to be done to ease the effects of the ban. As it stands, there is a 25% levy on semi-extensible paper that Vora must import, given that there are none locally available. This in turn will make such biodegradable bags too costly for the average consumer.
Make the field level. If somebody is importing a bag and is paying a 25% duty, and I am importing paper and trying to convert that into bags, and I'm paying a 25% duty on that, it doesn't make sense.
Stakeholders in the plastic industry have suggested Kenya takes the route South Africa took, with the introduction of a levy that could generate about $8 million annually that can be channeled to developing recycling plants.
What we'll do is the funds will be brought to a table for a PPP, a public-private partnership, and we'll decide now where it needs to be allocated, where it's failing.
In Kenya, recycling is not done on a large scale, and most of the waste, even segregated waste, end up in the same landfills. The plastics industry gives the Kenyan government about $50 million in revenue per annum. But going by the planned ban, the government would rather earn that money elsewhere. Kathryn Omwandho, CGTN, Nairobi, Kenya.